That first February in Plymouth, there were 7 pilgrims healthy enough to take care of everybody else. But those 7 pilgrims didn't go into a corner and take care of themselves. They took care of their friends. They bathed them, fed them, nursed them. 18 married women came on the Mayflower. 14 died the first winter, sacrificing themselves for the next generation. They honored the individual. And what is the result of what they did? The country we have today.
Come on.
First of the external governance, folks, law. Check that guy out. You want to break the law with that guy around? I don't think so. Take a look at the look on his face. That guy's got your number. But he also has his hand held up in mercy. In Plymouth, we have law with justice and mercy. What does that mean? The punishment has to equal the crime. We have 2 problems, folks. If you do not base your law on biblical law, you got a problem. If the punishment does not equal the crime, law is useless. Did you know that back in the 1600s, if you committed a crime and you were convicted back in England, the judge that convicted you did not set the penalty, another judge did who had nothing to do with the first trial. And if you caught that guy in a bad mood and all you did was steal, he could have your head removed. Very rarely did the punishment equal the crime, but always in Plymouth. To give you an example, the first duel in the United States took place in Plymouth, Massachusetts, between 2 young men that came on the Mayflower, a man named Doughty and a man named Lester. Naturally, they were fighting over the attentions of a young woman. What else? Yeah. Well, they weren't great duelists. They nicked each other a little bit, no big deal, but they broke the law. Had to be punished. Governor Bradford punished them by tying their hands and feet behind them and together for 24 hours. Well, if you've ever seen anyone in that position, when you get tired, your hands and feet begin to drop. It pulls. It's incredibly painful. They made it 1 hour, begged for mercy. The governor let them go, and they never did duel again. However, all they had to do was ask the young lady. She went back to England, didn't marry either one of them. What can I tell you? It's a guy thing. Underneath signing a peace treaty with the Indians. If we're all equal, that means all. 55-year peace treaty, longest lasting peace treaty in our country's history. Did they test that peace treaty? You bet. 1630, 3 Europeans killed an Indian on the Rhode Island border. 2 were captured, brought back to Plymouth for a trial. One of the 3 judges that sat in on that trial, a man named John Jenny, he built our grist mill. Naturally, the Indians thought it would be a joke, a mock trial, go through the motions, get it over, let them go. After all they did was kill an Indian. John Jenny found the 2 men guilty and had them hung. Everybody was equal under the law. Now the Indians could trust the Pilgrims. They were people of character and integrity who stood by their word. And I do believe that's what made that peace treaty the longest lasting peace treaty in our country's history. Simply because the Pilgrims stood by their word. You bet. This is a quote by Governor William Bradford 10 years into the adventure. And the contrast for this is we have a statue of faith facing Europe. Faith brought the Pilgrims here to start a new life. We have this quote facing the rest of our nation to let our nation know exactly what happened here in Plymouth. Let me read you the quote. Thus out of small beginnings greater things are produced by his hand that made all things of nothing and gives being to all things that are. And as one small candle may light 1,000, so the light here kindled has shone unto many, yea, in some sort to our whole nation. Let the glorious name of Jehovah have all the praise. And those lights Governor Bradford is talking about are the remaining 51 pilgrims. And just as that statue of faith is facing Europe and faith brought the Pilgrims here, that quote facing the rest of our nation to let our nation know what really happened here in Plymouth. And what really happened here in Plymouth has nothing to do with buckles of turkey. It has everything to do with the founding of our country. Because our country was founded on Christian principles, and that is good. Because Christianity is inclusive. You do not need to be a Christian to reap the benefits of a Christian society. God did not say all Christians were equal under the law. He said all people. So now my wife and I believe it is our job to let our country know where they came from. Education, incredibly important. Look at that young lady, book of knowledge in her lap, the Bible on her head, a wreath representing honor of education. Over here, a small statue of youth, the young mother holding the hand of a child, teaching that child from the Bible, teaching that child right from wrong, how to behave in public, how to honor your adults. But back then, things weren't much different than they are today. On occasion, a young couple didn't have all the answers for their children. Where do you go to get those answers? To people who have wisdom, the elders. In other words, the grandparents. Education was a family affair. Everybody got involved because the Pilgrims knew if that biblical education skipped a generation, there would be trouble. Today, I feel trouble.
Yes, serious.
Us old people, we haven't done the job that we need to do to pass it to the next generation. See, folks, but back then they used tools we no longer use. One of those tools is called accountability. People were held accountable for their actions. And if young people misbehaved in public and did not honor their adults, there would be a punishment. That punishment is called a pillory. A pillory is a board with 3 holes in it. One for your head, the other 2 for your hands. And that pillory would be occupied from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon by their parents. The parents were responsible for their education, and if they misbehaved in public, the parents would be publicly punished and humiliated. And I'll tell you, when I bring school groups up here, I tell them that story, they love it. So they cheer until I tell them this: at 5 o'clock your parents will let go and they go home to you. But why the parents? Children are a gift from God to us. It is our responsibility to raise them properly. And if we do not, there will be a consequence.
Yes.
Might be the pillory, might be generational. And of course, underneath, signing the Mayflower Compact, first document of self-rule, and we're educated from the Bible, are all made in the image of God. That's the other half of the passenger list that came on the Mayflower to complete 102 people. Right up there, folks, is a small statue of wisdom. If you take a close look at that, you might notice the resemblance.
Leo, is that you?
Yeah, never works out, you know. I like you.
I like you too.
There you
Leo.
go.
We're big people, that's why.
Folks, my favorite, Liberty. Check that guy out. Look at the muscles on that guy.
Yeah. Look at him.
Check out the breastplate, the helmet, the sword. But look at the sword. It's in the sheath. It's in the defensive position. This battle is over. It has been won. He has a lion draped over his shoulder. In the secular world, a sign of tyranny. In the Bible, Satan, the lion's been slain. Chains on his hands and feet are broken. He's broken the chains of tyranny. Over here, a small statue of tyranny. That very same soldier standing on the chest of the king, having won the battle, broken the chains of tyranny, and found the peace of the Bible. Over here, a small statue of peace. And of course, underneath, stepping on Plymouth Rock. We started our journey around the monument with the embarkation, leaving Europe to start a new life. We ended by stepping on Plymouth Rock, the sign of the overthrow of tyranny. We left Europe, broke the chains of tyranny, stepped on Plymouth Rock, and found the peace of the Bible. Folks, that's the Pilgrim story, nothing else. They came here for the liberties and freedoms you find by using the Bible as your textbook for life. And I'll be honest, I tell this story to an awful lot of people. People look at me and they say, freedom, Bible, I don't buy it. Explain this to me. Wives, submit to your husbands. What does that have to do with freedom? I suggest they finish the chapter. Husbands, love your wives the way Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. In the covenant promise, there are always 2 sides. And when they come together, there is no better relationship.
Amen. Amen.
No
Folks,
better. No
in a nutshell, that's the Pilgrim story.